Now, very happy to say Andy Mitten is at Goodison Park ahead of Manchester United against Everton in the Carabao Cup quarter-final this evening. Andy, how you doing?
Cold.
Weather not so good?
I've just come from Liverpool city centre and it's freezing and it's raining and I'm drenched, and I love watching football in December and feel very lucky to be able to go inside this wonderful stadium.
Oh, beautiful. Radio listeners can't see, obviously, but he's given us a beautiful shot there of Goodison, which is one of the great traditional grounds still. I mean, if you look at footage of the 1966 World Cup, you can recognise it instantly.
It's one of my favourite grounds. I've often written that it's the Wrigley Field of English football. It's still got areas of wooden seats, and it's a beautiful stadium. And I understand the reasons why Everton need to move to a Superdome on the banks of the River Mersey rather than in this working class area just across Stanley Park from Anfield. But I love Goodison Park and I love coming here, and looking forward to the game this evening between Everton and Manchester United.
The domes never quite have the same atmosphere.
They don't, and I'm a little bit of a traditionalist. I can see why they have to move. There are no or extremely limited executive facilities here, which bring lots of money in. It's very difficult to park your car here, although when you do, there's no shortage of people asking for a few quid to mind your car for you. Public transport could be far better, and it's a cramped site. It's one of those old English football grounds built in the Victorian era among the community which it serves, and that's what I like about it. There's only going to be 2,000 fans here tonight, but I just saw somebody walk out of the front door and walk towards the ground, and I love that. And some of the Superdomes, you might get a better view. You certainly pay more for the facilities inside them, but I'm torn on it. I would have loved Everton to be able to redevelop Goodison, like Liverpool have done with Anfield, and Liverpool have done a very good job of it, expanding the capacity. But it's a much smaller site here, and they're going to move, and I'm sure it'll be beautiful. I'm sure you'll get the televisual sunsets over the Mersey estuary with the city of Liverpool as a backdrop on the other side and the Liver building. But I'll miss Goodison, and I'm sure Everton fans will too.
To remind ourselves of Manchester United's recent form, 3-1 defeat to PSG. The second half plucked the West Ham game out of the fire, then a 3-1 win. 3-2 defeat to Leipzig, the 0-0 draw at Man City, a 3-2 win away to Sheffield United, and then 6-2 at the weekend. Post that Leipzig defeat and the Champions League exit heading into the Manchester derby, which was a so-so game, we don't need to revisit that in any great detail. There was a brewing sense of discord once again around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's put a degree of coolant on it with the last couple of games, but it, such as the expedited news cycles that we're all living in, he does seem to stumble in and out of these relatively quickly at the moment.
He does, and it's so accelerated, but that's not to say that it reflects reality. And I work for several outlets, and I have editors saying to me, can you write a piece now about whether Ollie's going to be sacked this weekend if he loses at Everton, for example, which came after the defeat in Istanbul last month? And I said, well, I'm telling you now that he's not going to be sacked. Yeah, but, you know, that's the general feeling. I'm saying, I'm telling you now with the sources I've got, which I trust with my life, that he's not going to lose his job this weekend, even if Manchester United lose 8-0. And then I write a balanced piece. And, of course, there's concern when results are bad, such as that one in Istanbul or the one you mentioned in Leipzig. And it was a big disappointment when United didn't go through that Champions League group because it started it so well. But league form has been good since, probably better than it's been at any point this season. United are within touching distance of the top of a table which none of the fans thought they'd win at the start of this season, and most don't. I certainly don't expect United to be Premier League champions come May or whenever this season ends up finishing. But the form has improved. Scoring goals. There's a big win against Leeds. The problem for United was the home form has been so poor. There's been a lack of goals. The away form has been fine, both in league that we're about to watch tonight, the Carabao Cup. And this is another chance for and I think Ole Gunnar needs his first trophy. think it's really important that he gets a trophy this season. He's been in the job 2 years now, as of a couple of days ago, and a trophy will definitely lift the spirits and win over some of the doubters. As you say, the doubters are never far away. If United lost tonight, there would be people on social media saying, he's not the man for us, he's got to go. That, again, does not reflect reality. The mood is usually set at games by the fans inside the stadium. That is not happening now. So you're getting this exaggerated, accelerated reaction to anything Manchester United do, including putting 6 past Leeds United, and that can dissipate very quickly. Even within a match, you see United fans going crazy if they go a goal behind and then celebrating at the end of the match. I think it's a social media phenomenon.
When you say a trophy is very important, Louis van Gaal might beg to differ for starters. I mean, how important is a Carabao Cup or even an FA Cup? Like, it would strike me if Solskjaer finishes 7th and wins the Carabao Cup, then he's in for a tricky summer where he'll be looking over his shoulder. I really do wonder about the importance of a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup.
If you look at Manchester United's ratings, then the manager ratings, the approval ratings, if you like, and I suppose it's my job to sense them, to sense what the mood is. I think a League Cup would lift by 10%. Nobody's saying this is going to alter the course of Manchester United's history. And the FA Cup by 15%. And winning the league obviously makes you untouchable for a while. They're not going to win the Champions League this year. I think the Europa League is absolutely worth winning. But as you say, if United were to finish 7th, he would have an uneasy summer. And his job wouldn't be guaranteed, because 7th is not good enough for Manchester United when you've been in the job for 2 years. At the moment, it doesn't look like United are going to finish 7th, but closer to the 3rd where the team finished last year. But there's only been 13 league games played, but United have won 7 of them. They only won 4 of the first 14 games last year. There's been a marked improvement, admittedly compared to a very poor start to last season.
Like, their last Premier League defeat, in fairness to Solskjaer, was Arsenal on November 1st. As you said, they're 5 points off Liverpool. They have a game in hand. Even post the Leeds win, you have the likes of Roy Keane on Sky Sports, you know, almost venturing the opinion that perhaps this year they could be best of the rest. I think everybody increasingly feels Liverpool will win this league title quite comfortably. But if United were best of the rest somehow, and that may well depend on City's form as much as anything, that would be serious improvement. What are you seeing in the performances? Because to continue a theme, when they're good, they're very good.
Yeah, they're scoring goals, and there's wonderful, exciting football. And when United beat Sheffield United, who'd not won all season last week, it probably showed where Manchester United are at. Scoring goals, showing some brilliant football, and yet it was a nervy finish. This team is not a vintage Manchester United team. The manager will say that. He certainly won't get carried away. He'll knock back any title talk. And as you say, Liverpool are far more complete. Manchester City have got a more complete squad than Manchester United. And that's why I didn't think the Manchester derby, boring though it was the disaster that some people thought it was, because United are winning the rest of the matches. I think there's been an improvement among individual players, and there needs to be more. You look at players like Anthony Martial. He's not been consistent enough this season, as he was last year. Marcus Rashford's having a good season. I wouldn't say great for any of them, really. David De Gea, ups and downs. Dean Henderson is pushing for that number 1 spot. But the season started really poorly, and the defence was quite rightly criticised. The midfield is still uncertain. And when I say that, you don't know who Ollie will start in his midfield against any team. Against Liverpool next month, which is looking like a huge game, I'll be an hour before the game and I won't know what the team is likely to be, because he's so unpredictable. So that strikes me that he hasn't fully settled on what he wants. Bruno Fernandes remains the most important player, the most creative player, but there are question marks over others. Paul Pogba, his situation blew up at the start of this month, and yet he's actually played well in recent weeks.
Yeah, the volatility in the team selection is quite something. It's amazing, really. You genuinely, I mean, hardened Manchester United fans who are watching every minute of every game and reading every dispatch from the club would do well to guess the starting 11. And, you know, there's adaptable and there's just unsettled and still trying to figure things out. And you suspect it's the latter. On Mason Greenwood, so Martial and Rashford and Greenwood. You know, so much of United's fortune is going to rest on how they're doing month to month. There were some interesting comments from the club even about Greenwood. I think it was last month, Andy, about him maybe not looking after himself well enough and struggling to be a good professional, I guess. What's going on there? What's the word there?
Well, I wrote about him and I spoke to specialists about him, professionals who work with young footballers, and he's a teenager who's had a huge change in his life, and he's a good lad. He's done very well since he's come through. Of course, the coaches would like him to look at Edinson Cavani and the way that he trains and just follow his actions, and they could probably say that about Brandon Williams as well. These young lads have come into huge amounts of money. They're living in a lockdown. They have trust issues, knowing who the best friend is and who some of the people are who just appeared on the scene. They've got lots of time to kill, and nobody really has any sympathy for the young millionaire footballer at all. But they make mistakes. Teenagers make mistakes in every walk of life, and the United players have done that. When Brandon Williams got on a plane and flew to Greece and posted an image of him sat on a private jet, decked in designer gear, it was the wrong thing to do. United fans were unhappy because a few days earlier, Sevilla had knocked United out of the Europa League. And hopefully he'll learn from that and he won't do such a thing again. I think Greenwood is a phenomenal talent, and he's got good people who care about him at the club. There's a lot of people around him away from the club. His family have moved to Manchester, and I'm told they're a good influence as well. But it's a challenge with young players, especially in the modern era where mistakes are magnified on social media, when everybody has camera phones. You know, Sir Alex Ferguson had it with Lee Sharp and Ryan Giggs as they were growing up in the world as well. But all of their errors were not plastered all over the internet within 5 minutes of them happening.
Solskjaer said of Pogba just this week that post the Mino Raiola comments, he's got a very, very good attitude to training and to his football. So the fallout from Raiola, Andy, what are you hearing?
I don't think Pogba's professionalism in terms of his training has ever been an issue. He's a popular lad among the players. But clearly you might say that it's highly unprofessional of his agent when he's doing comments like the ones he did before a huge game away at Leipzig. That didn't go down well at the club, whatever anybody says. It's not the first time that it's happened. And United fans feel pretty underwhelmed by Paul Pogba. They had big expectations when he arrived for a world record fee in 2016. Be it injury, changing managers, or woeful inconsistency, he hasn't fulfilled his own dreams, nor those of the fans. And if he left the club tomorrow, I don't think there'd be too many disappointed Manchester United fans. Maybe disappointed in the sense of it's sad that it didn't work out. But when his agent comes out and talks, that really annoys United fans. I still think he'll get chances because the squad isn't strong enough not to give a player as talented as him chances. You can't just cut him out. And I know that on a personal level, Ole Gunnar actually gets on well with Paul Pogba, and he's popular around Carrington. He's a polite lad. In my own dealings with him, he's a polite young man. But then you see what his agent comes out with, and clearly he knows about that because it's his agent. And that doesn't sit well, not with the club, not with his teammates, and not with the fans who think, well, if you want to go, just go. Manchester United's not a village football team. You either want to be here or you don't want to be here.
It's amazing the extent to which his footballing stock has even plummeted this season. He's routinely on the bench, and it's not like there's any outcry or discord, be it from pundits watching in a studio or fans in so much as you can take the temperature on social media. It's just like, yeah, I think most people can see why Solskjaer would have him on the bench. Even when they lose a game, you're not seeing great cries of, well, oh my God, Pogba's on the bench, in the same way we might see it with Ozil at Arsenal at the moment. That is kind of extraordinary when you stop and think about it.
It is for a player so talented. When he has come off the bench, he's actually performed well. He did really well in Paris, where he set up Marcus Rashford's winner, but he hasn't deserved to start. The manager's making the correct decision because Paul Pogba often has played poorly within matches. He's conceded possession, he's let his head go down, he's been affected by the noise around him. And your original point is quite right. I don't see Real Madrid or Barcelona queuing up to buy Paul Pogba. A, because of the COVID economy around football, but even if they were both flush with cash, I still don't see them singling him out as a prime target because, quite frankly, there are better players than him. If you look at the metrics, which all the top clubs do, and judge players using hard data over 40 different samples, Pogba's not coming out at the top of them. And that's not justifying huge transfer fees. And United would want a big transfer fee if they sold him at the moment. But I sense that his contract will run down. He might even leave for a free. And I don't think he's got the number of suitors that he may have had a year or two ago. I know for a fact that he hasn't.
A last one for you, because I know you're busy and probably freezing.
I'm freezing.
It's been a good week for Scott McTominay, and the parallels with Fletcher extend beyond being Scottish and blonde and hard running. He's also on a similar trajectory, you feel, developing slowly but surely. I think he's 24 now. Like, if he keeps going like this, you can see, a la Fletcher, him getting to 27, 28, being a really important player for Manchester United in the really big games.
I agree with all that, and I hope that Manchester United are good enough to reach European Cup finals like they did when Darren Fletcher was there, even though he missed out in one of them because of a booking he'd taken in the semi-final. I thought the game against Leeds was his best match, scored 2 goals because he hasn't been scoring enough goals. His fitness is fantastic. Jose Mourinho was the one who picked him out, promoted him and praised him. There are United fans still to be won over by him, because technically he doesn't have the skills of somebody like Paul Pogba, but great successful teams need squads. And if you look at the great United teams, there's been players like Darren Fletcher, who you mentioned, like John O'Shea, who've been really important to the success of Manchester United. They might have played 30, 40, even 50 games in their best seasons. And I think Scott has been a success, and he continues to improve with experience and hopefully get stronger with the knocks. And it's not easy for him because he's not playing in a Fergie side where they're winning everything. He's playing in a side which is still in transition, which is still inconsistent, which started the season as badly as it did this year for many reasons. But he's coming stronger and he's coming good. And what I notice, because I'm at these matches, he's always the most vocal player on the pitch. Right. And I pointed that out in Istanbul, and nobody was there to see it in the flesh. And I got a barrage of abuse because people said he might be vocal, but anyone can go around shouting. And one guy even messaged me and said, he cannot play football. And I remembered that. And at the weekend, I replied to him and said, you're still saying that Scott McTominay cannot play football? And I don't usually do that. And of course, he was anonymous. They're always anonymous, aren't they? But I thought it was pretty unfair because my brothers played semi-professional football and they were really good. So how good have you got to be to play for a huge team like Manchester United?
Quite good, I would think. Final one, Carlo Ancelotti's getting a tune out of this Everton side. We're talking ahead of knowing the teams, but this is no easy game.
It's a difficult game. Everton have improved. They've obviously spent a fortune. They've got a top manager. They brought in top players like James Rodriguez. And when United came here in November, the narrative was Everton are really good. They're going to hammer United, and that didn't happen. United have still got better players than them. This was the ground where David Moyes lost his job. It's where Ole Gunnar saw his team lose 4-0. But I'm more confident, but then I've got no idea what the team's going to be.
It's true.
And but I feel that Everton really need a trophy as well. I speak to a lot of Evertonians, and it would be a bigger lift for Everton than it would be for Manchester United. But I still think this is worth winning for Manchester United. OK, well, to a very cold Andy Mitten at Goodison, thanks so much for that. Enjoy the game. Have a great Christmas. Thanks for all the contributions across the year, Andy. It's much appreciated. It's really nice to talk to you. And same to you and to everybody who's watching or listening. I've enjoyed it.